Yay.
And then let's look at who the participants in.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
there's four.
this one here.
Five. Oh boy.
Right here.
Just click on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, click on that. It'll make it show up.
All
And then
right.
click on participants. And you have to,
Okay.
before you do that, do
Mhm.
allow panelists to do their video here.
Where's that? Allow panelists to unmute themselves.
Yeah.
No?
No, allow panelists to do their video.
Anna,
To start video right here.
right here. Okay. What else?
There we go.
Hi, Janice.
Hi.
And then we'll take a look
Got no
over
late
here.
start, guys.
Miss Simon.
Yeah. And see how.
Oh, Chief Hitler
Yeah.
and Kalpana.
Yeah.
And Margaret Moran.
Yeah.
Nada. So Nada. Okay, Nada. I don't know why she's not a panelist. And Officer Kelly.
And in theory,
Yeah.
we should have somebody from NHA there, Ben Wilson.
Yeah.
It's not there. So
We
just
sent
keep an
them-
eye. Yeah,
yeah,
I
we-
sent it to him again. So
Okay.
great.
Oh, yeah, caramba.
So I think we're close to starting.
I'm maybe you are.
Okay. Eleanor and Janice, can you hear us? Hear me okay?
Yep. Voice check.
Voice check, exactly. So we're a little late here, but it's 7:40, and this is the regular monthly meeting of the Needham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners. I'm going to start by calling the roll. Reg Foster is here.
Penny Kirk here.
Ed Schreiber is here.
Janice Bennett is here.
Eleanor, you're on mute. I think you can hear us here.
Yeah. No, I know you're on mute.
You can click right there in that little over there in our speaker and say,
You're on mute, Eleanor.
it's a ask to unmute.
Ask to
Yeah,
unmute. Where? Right.
See, click
Right
on
there?
that little red thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, see, it shows up there.
Let's see.
No, not on that
Right
one.
here, right there.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm gonna be a pro at it.
Okay,
Ellen.
Eleanor Evans is here.
All right, I declare that we have a.
Hi, Eleanor.
Hi.
All the commissioners are here. And I just wanted to point out for everybody's benefit that we are doing a hybrid meeting with two of our commissioners participating remotely, and therefore we'll be taking all of our votes by roll call vote as required. And we're doing this as enabled by Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 as extended by Governor Healy to 2025, which allows us to have a hybrid meeting. Some people participating online and others participating in person. We have five people here in the audience. We have 2, 4, 6 people as attendees. We're actually having 2 meetings tonight. One is our regular board meeting, which we just called to order. And then within this meeting, we will open up a public hearing on our 2024 state annual plan that was published to the commissioners in last month's board packet, and was sitting published here in the community rooms, and anybody who want a copy here. So we will open that, take public comment, and then close that, and then we'll go to the rest of the regular agenda. And we're going to have Representative Garlick, this is Chairman's announcements, attend tonight make a presentation, but a last minute conflict arose and then she is not able to make it tonight. So she's probably going to be rescheduled. She's asked to be rescheduled for next month. We were also going to introduce our new special legal counsel that we hired, Teresa Santa Lucia of Klein Hornig, but she came down with COVID 2 days ago and is asked to maybe be postponed until our next get together here. So, and then we also were going to do an introduction to our new BH&A team, but I don't see anybody there yet. So we will go ahead with the rest of the agenda. And we'll circle back to that when we get a chance. Let's see, what other announcements do I have? I have very important announcement, just in case people tune out early, about our 75th birthday party celebration on October 12th from 4 to 7 at the Needham Golf Club. And Cheryl will have an update, more information when we get there, but in case people are only here for a few minutes, I want sure that everybody's got that marked in their calendar. I also wanted to note that it's in my briefcase, but WBUR, those of you who follow WBUR, have may have noted that they're doing a series. Here's the article. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, NPR radio in the morning. A very kind of thorough series on the pains and difficulties of public housing. And so those of you who might not have noted it, you could go to the website, and there's a printed version of the interviews that they've been doing and the reporting they've been doing, that, you know, I think for most of us don't really say that much new, but it's nice that we're getting that kind of publicity, because we certainly need to do, the state needs to do a better job here. So, and I think that's it for the public announcements, the chairman's announcements. And so I am now going to open at 7:45 the public hearing.
So,
Yes,
3 panelists
what are you asking?
right here.
What about it?
So that just popped up. Do I need to do?
No, you don't need to do anything. You can just keep watching the attendees
Okay.
here, but you can switch back and forth, but we're good. So we're still in Zoom training here, and
Yep.
there's nothing like driving the bus, the car yourself, because
Yeah,
that's
right.
how one learns these
Learning.
things here. Yeah. So I'm opening the public hearing for the Needham Housing Authority State Aid Public Housing. The 2024 annual plan has been published for about a month or more, and we will now take public comment. And I'm going to ask the panel, the attendees, if you have a comment you want to make, as usual, just please raise your hand, and Cheryl will keep track of that, and we'll call on you after we make the rounds here in the room. So any comments from anybody? Ross Donald, you have the floor. And speak up a little bit so that we can get you on this.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Ross Donald, Chambers Street. And a lot of things that are mentioned in previous annual plans have sort of not come to pass. So I'm kind of realizing that you know, the annual plan is sort of more of a continuous kind of thing. It's not going to begin and end on one day like today, or even the last 45 days. For instance, the previous plan, and it might appear on this page, also is the intercom system, which I think was started a couple of years ago, and it's had some various success. It worked for a while, and then I think it was inspected. There were some problems with the contract, as I recall. The door buzzer in the door in my building doesn't work. The surveillance cameras. My bicycle went missing, and we went to the police, and they tried to follow up on it, and they couldn't get the right cameras. They weren't working or something, so there's a problem there. It'd be nice if we followed up on some of these line items to see whether they're actually working, you know. Let's see. Another thing that we're missing is sort of a presentation. We always had previous executive directors and the director of maintenance do a presentation and cover a lot of these items. We haven't seen that in a while. Let's see, I think that some of the things that I just need to mention that a number of residents are interested in working on starting up an LTO. And I want to mention that, let's see. Yeah, can I do this here, a correction to the minutes?
No, we're not at the minutes here,
Alright.
yeah.
Are we gonna have a time to do that?
You can mention it, at the, yes, when we get to the minutes. you can mention it then.
His comments, you know, his comments
Yeah.
on meeting
Yeah.
LTO. No, it's
I-
not
that's
in
fine.
there, so, yeah.
I'd like to
That's what
see
it
it more than not, well, this is probably the minutes too. And that would be- Okay, the other things I'd like to bring up, bring the,
Resident comment?
Public comment.
Yeah, sure. Any other comments from anybody in the room? Do we have any hands up? I don't see any. Commissioners, do you have any comments or questions for Cheryl on the? None from Penny and Ed, Janice and.
No, no.
None? Okay, hearing no further comments, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:50, let's call it, on the 2024 state aided public housing annual plan. Do you need us to vote to approve that tonight? Okay. Do I hear a motion from the commissioner to vote to approve this plan so Cheryl can submit it?
I move.
Okay, I got Penny in there first and Janice, you're second for that. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'm gonna call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Thank you,
Excuse me, Ed, I vote aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And Eleanor Evan Mouth, sounds like lip reading was voting aye.
Sorry, Eleanor. Let's see if I can go back to this.
No, it's.
I know it's right here.
Okay.
I vote Eleanor Evans votes aye. Sorry, so if I mute
All
myself,
right,
is it,
so
just one question, if I mute myself, is that gonna keep doing that, or should I not mute myself, or?
I think when I first started it, I had that little code in there to ask to unmute, but it's
Yeah,
okay. If you want to
that
mute
fixed it.
yourself, you can, and you can unmute yourself at this point.
yeah, we had a
Okay.
wrong setting there.
Got it, all right, sorry.
Yep. Okay, great. We are now going to do resident and community input. Again, anybody who's online and the attendees, if you have something, if you switch over to the attendees list, if you have anything to say, please raise your hand and I'll start again with anybody in the room. But first, of course, with our LTO president. Jessica, you're up.
So I'll go over what we did.
And this
last
is
month.
Jessica.
Just to read, sorry.
Reese, yeah.
CRCB resident, president of Bridge Tenants Association. So Ross and I actually attended, we spoke about that, we attended the Mass Union Conference, there was a day conference. When I say we spoke with Cheryl regarding it, but at our meeting. And we talked about possibly getting new people to come to the meetings, and we got some really good ideas as far as roll calling, to remind people of the meetings the day of. And to do like some visuals within the meetings to get majority votes of what people find important and what they don't. That was one of the main examples that we were given. I thought it was a great idea. There's also Mel Paint Institute like Zoom call that you have to register for. It's a 2-hour thing, but it's Public Housing Authority residents are free to go, and it's for us only. Actually, it's on conflict resolution, which I think is something that's very important. So we're trying to set up with Cheryl to get a Zoom. Yeah. Oh no, that I'm talking about the one for the community room, to possibly get it on the TV up at Seabed, the community room, to get people to come as a group rather than have, because some people don't do it at their house. But what she's referring to is the Mass Union Conference, it's the day conference, and Saturday, October 28th. I'm gonna be going, and I'm trying to get another person to tag along with me. Janice said she would go if she, needed to go, but I'm gonna try to leave her be because I know she's not feeling great. And then we just went over resident comments. One of the things that was a big deal was the newsletter. That I think might actually be changing back to what it was, because a lot of the residents like the monthly newsletter that they were getting. And they like the month calendar that was in the back of the newsletter to help them keep track of everything else that happens within the month, so. That's something that I think will change, and down the line, around the new year, I think we're gonna do new elections and try to, because we're in the process of trying to get other people involved. And that's it for us.
Super, thanks so much, Jessica. Ross, you said you had some comments?
Yeah, thank you. Ross Donald again. Again, restarting the LTO for Linden Chambers is going to be important. And there was the correction I had was that the organization that was referred to as Linden Chambers, and we're actually trying to include High Rock neighbors too. We're allowed to cover as an LTO both state and federal through the same organization. So we need a few more numbers. And that might be a way to do it. And people do come down and use this building, so we can be better familiar with each other. Right now, we have no social service coordinator because she's going to be out sick for a while, and no Springwell person is leaving. So we're back with no social service people for a while again, which sort of points out the need for having an organization. We can keep these things going. I'm working with Jessica Moss and some other people at the center and the Council on Aging and so forth. So let's see. One of the things that we've been talking about is opening up 164 Linden Street for community use. It's been used for maintenance and storage for something like 10 years now. It's really not the highest and best use. The consensus of the residents seem to be that using it for a community purpose, so that without any specificity, of course, it would be a great place to have a place like a community design center where we could actually hold a lot of the documentation, all this pre-development work is pretty terrific. Property condition reports, the zoning study. I've heard you mention it mentioned that there's a 300+ page report so far. So this would be a perfect place to store that at 164 Linden. I'm interested in the inspection process. I think there should be some care used if people are being evicted on the basis of poor inspections when there's really probably some other problems at the root of it. But the inspection process, when I first moved in, I was so happy to move in. I signed everything. Everything's fine. I don't want to complain. The drawer isn't working. That's okay. The plumbing is leaking. No problem. Don't worry about it. It'd be a perfect time actually to do a thorough inspection, and when things are prepared and people are ready to move in. And that way you'd start off with a really well served unit. Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. I really appreciate it. Hey, one of the things you brought up a couple of times, not a couple of times, more than a couple of times, is about the destiny of 164.
Yeah.
And it sort of stuck in my mind last month. You brought it up, and I realized, and it'll be next month when we know for sure, but that 164 might be ground zero where we'd be starting for the redevelopment. And and again, no final decisions have been made. We've been looking at we're doing schematic design and looking at various options of making the project less expensive to do and having less tenant relocation. And our clever people with BH&A have come up with a way that maybe we would do the project that would minimize the number of, old units, the old 4-unit buildings that need to be torn down for the first phase, more than we thought could be done. And of course, that would be great for the tenants, because it'd be less inconvenience for those people who would have to be temporarily relocated. But that 164 might be one of the buildings that wouldn't last more than, would be torn down in 2 years if we get the project started. So just, stay tuned until next month. We'll take a look at that. But of course, that would make a difference in, any kind of investment we would make to bring that building back into service or something. Maybe we can find some other way to store the documents and your ideas. We have this table here with, often has documents and stuff. So, but just wanted to give you that piece of information because, don't want you to feel like we're not listening here. So, any hands up online? Nope. I think we're done with resident input. So, we're going to go to our regular agenda, and the first item is review and approval of the Needham Housing Authority bill schedule and check warrant of $510,015.38, $510,015.38. I will make a motion to approve that. Do I hear a second? Yeah, we're going to get to the question. Usually you make a motion, then you have discussion, and then you go from there. Seconded from Penny. Is there any questions or comments for the director here? Yeah. Yes.
Yes, page 6. Alan and Major Associates Inc. for $6,500. I just wonder who they are.
So, Alan,
Here.
no, it's okay. It's fine. So Penny, Allen and Major are our contractor for the paving project at Seabed's Way
good.
and
Okay.
Captain Robert Cook Drive.
Oh.
And this pushes the the construction documents to be prepared for online bidding, which will happen actually in January. The process for paving, as you all may know, is sort of closing. That process usually ends in November. So this will move forward for a timeline to start bids in January, to receive bids in March, and perhaps have a contractor on board by mid-March, so they can start the project in the spring.
Great.
Okay.
And then page 12, the second to last thing, Quest Diagnostics. There's been a drug test for the same person in 4 different locations.
No, I know, I hate
Yeah,
that, my financial specialist, distributes them. You said that was on page 22?
Page
Yeah.
12,
Page 12.
Well,
the second to last one, it says Quest Diagnostics.
Yeah,
And
May
then-
I just give you a shot at that? You got to remember when you're looking at the detailed breakouts, that sometimes they get charged. It's one test for
for one person,
for one
however,
person for a total amount that you can't read because it's in the black part. But
No,
it
I
is,
read that, but they're all different locations.
it's not that they're different locations, they're different developments that they're being charged to that budget line item for
Oh.
those developments.
yeah, you got to always remember that, yeah.
We're
'Cause we
distributing
have to
it,
allocate. Right.
Okay, okay.
we're distributing it evenly, I think.
And then on page 21, I see
Mhm.
that Bees and Roundup has been purchased from the Needham Garden Center. And several years ago, I pointed out to Andy that Roundup is being sued out of their mind because that product had cancer. And she said, I'll make a note of telling maintenance not to buy Roundup.
I see, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
And
Yeah,
the only other question I had on page 26 is Almar LLC.
Yeah.
$94,000. What is that?
that's
they
the roofing.
are roofing
the-
contractors, and that was I think that was our first payment. Their first payment rec.
If
Requisition.
you haven't been over there recently,
have.
there's some beautiful roofs
Good.
that there's no
Good.
moss growing out of the roof.
Yeah.
I don't know, the no garden growing up there, so. All right,
Garden
any
has
other
gone away.
questions? Eleanor, Janice, any questions? Hearing none, I will call a vote for approval. Reg Foster votes aye.
Penny
Second.
votes aye.
Janice
No, we
Bennett votes
already-
aye.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we already- And Eleanor. Eleanor can't unmute. now.
No, I'm sorry, Eleanor.
Let me show you the,
Yeah. So the last
Just-
time we went down here.
yeah, we'll just unmute her first so she
All
can
right.
vote there.
So sorry.
All right.
Eleanor.
Great,
Um,
thanks. Eleanor Evans votes aye.
All right, now go up to panelists
Mhm.
and go to Eleanor.
Yeah.
And then go over, no, yeah, there to the
Right
dot,
here?
dot, dot.
Dot, dot, dot.
Yeah. And then where it goes.
Mhm.
I don't see, there's allowed to unmute there somewhere.
Yeah, it's not on here,
Yeah.
but we'll
Anyway,
keep an
you
eye
look
on
for
it.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Eleanor, you can stay off mute and,
Mhm.
so, good. So we're gonna move on to the board minutes. High Rock Home LLC bill schedule check warrant of $25,593.37. Do I have a motion to approve
I
that?
make a motion to approve.
Penny make the motion. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second from Janice. Are there any questions on that set of bills being paid? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Reg Foster votes yes, approve.
Eleanor Evans votes yes.
Penny votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Great. Now, Cheryl, I noticed that we have Chief Schittler on the line with us,
Yes, we
and maybe
do.
we want to take
Okay.
on item number D out of order.
let's
Before we get to the smoke-free policy, which might have some discussion to
So
it
we're
here.
gonna allow him to
So
come up
if you
or
would promote
him
him to a panelist,
to
so he may
panel?
join our meeting,
And then we have Officer Kelly.
and Officer Kelly, yes, so,
Okay. She's-
and.
Hi, Chief.
And did you promote Officer Kelly?
Officer
I'm not
Kelly,
sure you did.
I started it from, okay. Let's try one more time.
Yeah, there we go.
All right.
See if that works.
Hey, oh, what's this going on? Officer Kelly will be joining webinar as a panelist. Okay,
There we
there
go.
she is.
Super. So Chief and Officer Kelly, I just wanted to welcome you to our meeting, and it's great to have you here. Oh, she's on mute here, so you gotta allow him.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
guys.
I don't know what you,
And I'm doing something,
yeah,
Sorry, Chief.
there we go. And then Officer Kelly, the same thing there.
Good evening, how are you?
There we go.
Hey,
Super.
All
hello,
right.
everyone.
We want to
Hey.
welcome you both and thank you for all the support you provide to our staff. And I don't know if you have any words you want to share with us. We'll ask first for Carol to present the idea that she's going to recommend to the board here.
Yes, so welcome again and thank you, Chief. Thank you, Officer Kelly, for joining us. We are going to, and thank you, Kelly, for giving me the information on the van conversion. It's very exciting. I think the board has read the materials.
If you want to talk to her, you have to talk to the owl.
I'm looking at the thing.
Oh, no, that,
Next year I'll be better.
yeah,
But anyway, it's a great proposal. You know, Officer Kelly and I spoke about it, over the summer and, she's been into our office and met with our administrative staff about this, with Nada and with, Laurie. We all agree that this is a great idea. We're going to actually include the Needham Housing Authority logo on the van as well. But nevertheless, the proposal is a great proposal, and I hope the board would support it.
Do we have any questions from board members?
I would just like to comment, I thought the redesigning on the exterior of the van was absolutely great. All of I don't call them cartoon characters or the drawings, but I thought it looked great.
I second that.
I have a question, when we, and there was talk about being, use it for field trips for the
Yeah.
after school program.
Mhm.
Would that still be a possibility, even though we don't have it ourselves anymore?
So we're actually heading into our budget discussions, and we do have vehicles that was on the budget for this year. So we just want to talk about how to sort of move those items or that budget line item around to include maybe a small van that we can. This vehicle comes with required certifications that cost a great deal of money for each driver to go through, time, money. And so we just haven't been able to do that. And so it sits. And Kelly brought up this great idea. And I said, okay. Reluctantly, not reluctantly. I try to overthink it, but a point where it made complete sense to do this.
And just to clarify, is this the van that was donated to us?
Yes.
Yeah,
By the town, by the Public Health Department.
Yeah.
Council on Aging.
So I guess the story is, that was a great thing to accept, but we really don't have the wherewithal to use it in a way that would really make it valuable to
Exactly.
our
yeah.
community or anybody else's community. Is
Exactly.
that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
The certification which is required to have a chair lift, to a wheelchair lift, is pretty comprehensive, and we just, and pricey. And it really is a matter of time to be able to go through that training process, which we don't really have. So this is going to be, other towns are doing this, as you saw in the information. And Needham will do it better, I think.
It's
I
a
have no
great
doubt about
idea.
that.
So
Yeah.
Chief Schittler or Officer Kelly, do you have any words you wish to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think from in standpoint of the police department, we're very grateful for this donation from you guys, and we so much appreciate our partnership with the Needham Housing Authority and everything that we've been able to do over the years. And I think, to Officer Scolpinay, to Kelly, I'm grateful for her work and her vision on this. I think it's just outstanding, and anything that we can do that's going to help us with our outreach and our connections with our community, our whole community, is just so beneficial to our mission. And I'm grateful obviously to the Housing Authority and to Kelly for her work. So we appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Oh, good. I thought you were gonna turn it down for a minute.
No. I gotta get
Good.
it by the powers to be at the town. There's some paperwork we gotta do, but I don't think it'll be a problem at all.
Well, when you
Right.
get that thing painted up, if that's the way it's gonna look, my only condition for voting aye here is that you bring it around for, a visit, so we can all admire this new paint job here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I second that, Reg.
Maybe even we could take a ride in it as a board and have a picture stay
Exactly.
our 75th anniversary here, so.
Yeah, we could do that.
Schittler, your invitation is in the mail for our birthday party here, so I hope you might be able to stop by for a little bit anyway, so.
I wrote it down. I wrote the date down. So yeah, definitely. I'll be looking forward to that. And
I'll be
just
there.
one thing, I know that Mr. Donald mentioned that they were missing some services, some people down at Lennon Street and Chambers. And you just to keep in mind that we do have a clinician now 40 hours per week. And I know they're pretty involved with the Housing Authority, our schools and everything, but that's just a resource to remember that we can pass on to your group to take advantage of.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much.
I'll drop some business cards off if that would help too.
Great, perfect. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners? Would somebody like a motion to make a
I make a motion to
to-
accept the acceptance.
yeah, I think we're making a motion to donate our vehicle to the Needham Police Department to live a better life than it has been living.
I
And do
second that motion to
Second.
revive that van and give it some life. It's been sitting there for months, so
Yeah,
let's go for it.
thank
All
you.
right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call the roll again. Reg Foster votes aye.
Eleanor Evans votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Any first votes aye.
Jane Spanish votes aye.
And you have yourself a new vehicle, gentlemen and ladies.
Great,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. We appreciate
So
it.
excited. Thank
Uh,
you.
I know our meeting is extremely riveting and tempting, but do feel free to log off and have some dinner there. So,
All
Great.
right,
all
Have a
right,
good
thank you
evening.
so much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
evening. Thank you.
Take care.
Commissioners, I now notice that our guest, Ben Wilson, is also, I think, had some technical problems, has managed to make it on. So with everybody's okay, I'll take BHNA's, introduction there out of order, so he doesn't have to stay here too late. So let's promote him to a panelist, Ben Wilson and Margaret Moran. Why don't we promote Margaret as well here? Margaret is the Deputy Executive Director of the Cambridge Housing Authority and head of the Planning and Development Department there, and the overall principal in charge of our consulting engagement with them. And Ben is the new principal in charge, I believe is the right title or something like that, of the 10 plus or minus 10 person team that has just kicked off last week the project to do a complete gut renovation, modernization, preservation of our 76 units at Seabeds and Cook. So Ben, would you mind introducing yourself and your team and how are things going in the first 2 weeks of the project? And you're on mute here because you've got, I know, I'm going to find, while you're doing this, hang on a second.
So I should go here. And,
You just see that little blue thing, just click there, there. All right,
There we go.
Go down to panelists.
Well, hello, everyone, and
And then
thank you for having us.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to say that we're BH+A is very excited to be involved in another Needham Housing Authority project. We're really looking forward to making both of these projects really successful. As Reg said, we just kicked off last week, and last night we had a resident kickoff meeting and gave a relatively short presentation and introduced the resident surveys to the residents that attended. We had a reasonable showing for Seabeds Way. We had, I think, maybe 10 residents there, and maybe 5 or 6 or 7 residents from Cook's Drive. So it was good to get out there and meet some of the residents. So it was really I think it was a good thing to start with to really get people moving and so we're looking forward to making some quick progress here. I think the schedule's going to be tight going into the next couple months, and we'll have more to talk about next month, definitely. And
are there any questions from the commissioners? Oh, go ahead, Ben.
I was just gonna ask if there was anything you want me to speak on in particular. No, this
Well, look,
is,
I have one or two ideas, but let me just ask if there are any questions for the commissioner, or Margaret, if you want to add anything. There is, you probably have to ask her to unmute, given whatever is going wrong here.
Oh, now I can unmute myself. Thank you. Well, I just wanted to speak highly of BH plus A and for Ben Wilson. He's been involved in a number of Cambridge Housing Authority projects, and he personally and his team have done exceptional work for CHA. So I feel like you're in very good hands with that team. I know we've seen their work with Dan Chin over at Linden Chambers, and they've been doing a great job there as well. So I don't think Needham will be disappointed with the work that Ben and his team will do for BH plus A, and obviously the CHA team will be holding him to our high standards as he's accustomed to as well.
Great. Yeah, I would just add to what Ben said. I think we're off to a good start. Just for everybody's information, maybe repeating something you already know. The first two things that are happening is to confirm the existing conditions. We had our team from Dietz create the 100-page reports that rated the overall condition of seabeds as fair and Cook as poor. Nice, disappointing, but a result of many years of starvation subsidy and us doing the best we can with the money that we have. And there's also detailed lists of things that need to be fixed up that they're going through. They're going through all of that and just reconfirming all of that in the first month. And then the other very important thing they're doing, in my view, is they are doing a little mini master planning session where they're taking a look. We have 11 acres there, and we only have 76 units on those 11 acres. So the 2019 facilities master plan envisioned that there would be room there to add in the future, not right away, additional deeply affordable housing units, and propose sort of some pre-conceptual approaches to doing that. And the Ben's team is just going to take a quick look at that, see if anything needs to be updated, see if they come up with any kind of different kinds of ideas. So whatever we do going forward in the next 2 or 3 years, remember, we're going to construction, knock on wood, by early 2025. Whatever we do there, we're not doing something that would have to be undone or get in the way of something we might want to do in 2030. So that's I don't know if you have any further comments on that, Ben, but I think that's important to highlight.
No, I left out the description of the project because I felt like maybe you guys all knew what was up, but that's a good summary. We'll be doing the master planning kind of coincidental with our absorption of the existing conditions and some schematic work. I think it's the site has just some wonderful, incredible opportunities and potential for handling higher density than it does currently, and still be a wonderful nice green spaced suburban site. So I think it's really it's a great site there. We started in our proposal phase, we started getting into the whole master planning process, and it's I think there's opportunities in a whole number of ways of following up with what Abacus had done in 2019 and working forward from there. I think there's some neat ideas, and we have a couple primary goals and long-term goals for the Seabeds Way is to get some elevator and elevator access to the second floor units to bring them into a much more usable state. And so our master planning strategies are really kind of looking at different ways of achieving that. And getting us into a usable elderly housing that is fully accessible, and I think that will make a huge difference, I think, in the long run.
Great, thank you, Ben. And I would add to that, if possible, because elevators are very expensive and there's a lot of priorities, and we've discovered with Linden Chambers, which is a few months ahead of time, that that big, huge rise in construction costs that we've all been reading about for the last couple of years is really true. And it's going to be a huge challenge to stretch the dollars that we could generate over all the things that need to be done. So, but we have a great team to help us with that. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Margaret. We're going to demote you back to attendees. And again, the same invitation to go have some dinner, and don't feel like you have to watch the rest of our scintillating meeting if you don't want to here. So
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
okay, so we'll circle back to where we left off. I think it was at the minutes. We did not approve the minutes, did we?
You did
No.
not.
No, so we're on B1, which is the July 20th, 2023 minutes, which you can find on page on 3 of your board packet. Why don't we make a motion, and then we'll do some, I have some notes and corrections, you probably do too. So do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And Penny, our editor, and second?
I'll second.
Second for Ed. I will just say, I noticed some very minor typos and, missing words and so forth and so on. I don't feel a need to go through them. Is there anything important to all the commissioners? We can turn the minor typos over to Cheryl for fixing tomorrow here.
There's just one that I think is somewhat important, on page 33, the last paragraph, so, which has approximately members. And we
Right.
don't have how many.
How
I
many
think
members?
It would be very convincing in the future to know how many people are truly interested in this.
Here, I can show you where
I
it is.
have it
You
here.
got it there, okay.
Thank you.
And like I said, I've got just some minor ones, but nothing, rises to a material thing here. So let me see, Janice and Eleanor, do you have any comments on the minutes?
There was just those, like you said, Reg, so, I don't have anything.
So
Really.
you'll turn those into Cheryl and she'll get it put to bed. Okay, I'm going to call the roll to approve the minutes. Reg Foster votes aye.
Eleanor Evans votes aye.
Ed Geisler votes aye.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Okay. And those are approved, yes?
Is there a time to speak?
You came late, so
Okay.
it's already taken place, but stop by afterwards if you want to have anything to add here, okay? All right, we will move on to the next minutes. Now, I will say that with a second project starting up, that the administrative staff and Cheryl have been extremely busy and have not quite gotten around to creating the incredibly great minutes that we get now under the Cheryl Gosman administration here. And it's just a lot of balls in the air. I can testify, I'm feeling the same thing. So they're not ready. However, in those minutes, we last month we approved the submission of the repositioning applications to Reckitt Mail, and they are ready to be submitted. Just about, or I think they're almost ready. And one of the things you have to submit is a copy of the approved minutes or an excerpt thereof. So with great apologies from myself and Cheryl, I'm going to see if we can have a very quick special meeting next week for the sole purpose of approving those minutes. So it wouldn't take more than 5 or 10 minutes to approve the minutes. And Cheryl, I think it's really a question of you saying by what time do you think we could get the draft out to the board, and then we can pick a date next week.
Okay.
So
Talk offline
all right,
about
we'll
that.
talk offline on that. So, all right. Next agenda item is a revision to the NHA smoke-free policy. We've had a smoke-free policy of various kinds over the years. I'm just going to turn this over to Cheryl to explain what she's recommending to us. And she's recommending it, of course, because the commissioners are the ones that ultimately approve any changes to or updates to policies here.
Right.
And in your packet is an old policy and oodles of any HUD policies and other information and so forth and so on. Many pages of smoke-free policies here. But what is it that you're recommending here, Cheryl? And that policy she's recommending is on page 39. 39, I think.
39, yes, sir.
Yeah.
There's a memo and then
Or
there's
40, whichever. Yeah.
subsequent policy behind that.
Go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay, thank you. So I am proposing a name change, number one, to the no smoking policy that was approved by the board in 2015. Our administrative staff has an addendum to the lease in place that we currently use for all residents. They sign a lease addendum at certification. And when they move in, they sign the lease addendum as well, agreeing to not smoke in their units. But what I'm proposing is actually smoke-free buildings. And it's sort of it describes that here for you. But I'm telling folks, you can't, I'm not promoting no smoking. That's your choice to smoke. You just can't smoke it in our buildings. You can't smoke in any building in Massachusetts or in the country for that reasons. So I really want to emphasize that, we are promoting smoke-free buildings on all of our properties. With that comes a very detailed enforcement policy along with that. Whereas our previous policy is not as detailed as this policy is. I think this policy will allow us to work with the court system and to be able to provide some education, some support for residents who are struggling to quit smoking. We really want to help them in this regard. This is the new world that we live in, no smoking in buildings. So we have some frequent flyers out there, and it's been pretty hard for the court system to enforce to have a judgment on them for that behavior. And my hope is that this policy will show the Needham Housing Authority's responsibility in this regard, and how that we're not just punitive, we absolutely want to help our residents achieve that goal of not smoking in buildings, and that we can partner with the court in that regard. We've also been contacted by the Department of Health, who have received several nuisance complaints regarding secondhand smoke. And I didn't include their ordinance in your packet. I will send it to you, Janice, and you, Eleanor. I handed it out to Ed and Penny and Reg. There's a big fine that goes along with violating the ordinance, the nuisance ordinance. So I think we really need to be a little more aggressive in terms of working with our residents, our court systems, our public health department, to ensure that residents are not smoking in our buildings. Our soon-to-be brand-new buildings one day, but not smoking in our buildings. And we will designate areas where they can go smoke. We will have smoking shelters for them. We will have the metal smoking ashtrays, receptors. We will designate areas on our properties 25 feet away from our buildings where residents can smoke outside. And that's about it. I'm also going to ask the tenants organization to review the policy, the RAB board to review the policy and make comments. And I hope to bring it back to you for your consideration and vote at your next meeting.
Thank you. I have a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Janice.
I'm so on board with the no smoking policy, Cheryl. As
Yes,
a matter of
ma'am.
fact, in 10 days, it's going to be 22 years since I've picked up a cigarette.
All right.
And
Congratulations.
also, as far as the cigarette smoking generated areas with the receptacles, I hope that's not going to be in my parking lot. I mean,
It's not
I
gonna be
know, I
25
know,
feet big
cigarette
building.
smoke, please don't interrupt me. Cigarette smoke travels 2 to 3 miles. I don't know if any of you know that, but I've known it for a long time. And I'm glad you're not asking for a vote tonight because, you know, it wasn't much of a struggle for me to give it up because I wanted to. But I know it's such a hard struggle for other people.
Yeah.
And
It is.
and I think there needs to be more of a discussion, but I'm totally against smoking cigarettes, and I'm so surprised that people still freaking do it. And there's another thing that's going on. It's the vaping, which you don't see, you don't smell. So
Thank you, Janice. Eleanor, do you have
Well,
anything
so
to say?
speaking of vaping, I mean, I think, well, I know that might be a different version that's there, but here I see, smoking is defined and it talks about of any lighted cigarette, cigar, pipe, or other product containing any amount of tobacco or other similar lighted product. And I mean, so I'm sure that covers vaping, but it just strikes me that either perhaps vaping should be specifically mentioned or that
thank you, Eleanor.
just so that people are clear that includes that, or at least if not mentioned in the policy, at least residents informed that the policy includes vaping.
Probably better to be explicit if that's what it's
I
supposed to
was gonna
mean.
mention that.
Yeah.
Because
Anything
it's
else,
all the
Eleanor?
teenagers that are doing it now. It's all the young people.
Yep. Anything else, Eleanor or Janice? How about Penny, you or Ed?
Well, I could just add, it's hard to believe this, but for at least 10 years, I smoked 1 cigarette a day.
Huh. Okay.
And my doctor teased me and said, that means you're smoking.
Mhm.
So I gave it up and it was the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Yeah.
1 cigarette. And so I understand that this is something that, people who have real addictions have.
It's
going
very
to be very,
addictive.
very difficult and they need compassion,
Mhm.
but it needs to be done.
Yeah. So, yes, we're not taking a comment, we're gonna have resident meetings.
It's referring to smoking.
Yes, but you're not on the agenda. No, it's allowed when we have the residents speak, part of.
If there was a resident part, I just want to say I'm interested in being a part of it.
So good, just contact Cheryl and she'll let you know, and the staff at the office let you know when we meet with the resident advisory boards here. Ed, do you have any comment?
It's been over 40 years since I've had a cigarette, so I find it totally.
Wow. Everybody's been touched or has friends that have been touched, that's for sure. And, half a generation ago, I mean, we all remember getting on board an airplane and flying somewhere and, they had a non-smoking sign would go off, no smoking would go off and half the plane would light up, so we've come a long way from there. Cheryl, this is great. I think, looking at that cessation part and how we can help everybody, who's unfortunately still hooked, it's not their fault. It's a very addictive chemical. That's great. I think the vaping is another thing I think we need to take a look at. And then going along with that, I'd also occurred to me, and this, we should take a look at medical THC vaping, or, in other words, if you have a prescription from a doctor to take it for pain, what is the right policy for that? It's a different, I'm not talking about recreational smoking of weed. And in fact, I think I would be explicit about the smoking definition, that if it covers weed or marijuana, that it should say that, because it only says tobacco, and
Yes, that's
another like product. So, but what is the right policy? I don't know. Because I could see a case to be made that you don't want somebody who's using this for pain relief to have to go out when it's -5 degrees and walk 25 feet to the the gazebo. And I can see the other argument and say, well, you still don't want that in the building. So maybe
but-
other authorities have figured that out.
So Reg, well, I mean, yeah, other authorities may have figured that out. I mean, I know in terms of the federal properties, under federal law and therefore HUD regulations, marijuana is still a controlled substance and not legal. So I would imagine, but don't know for sure, that in the federal properties that it may not be legal to
That's why look
consume
into it.
medical marijuana. However, I mean, and I know that for employment law purposes in Massachusetts, that sometimes that there has to be accommodation of in some cases medical marijuana use. So anyway, there may be a distinction between the federal and the state properties for this purpose.
Of course, when federal law is to us, even walking down the Needham public way as well. So, it's ridiculous, complicated, but good points.
I
Yeah,
wanted
Janet.
to agree with Eleanor on that point. I couldn't see taking anyone's right away that has a doctor's recommendation or requirement, but more than likely a recommendation if that person requires that as a medical, you don't take that right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Maybe-
I guess I would recommend checking with Jonathan Driscoll and or other housing authorities.
The Board of Health, that's right. Where somebody hopefully has addressed this. So a couple other comments I have is I just wrote employees down here. Almost all of this applies to our employees working in our office or any other place. So I would just ask to take a look at this and make sure that, actually it serves it's not just like at residents, but it's at, our employees and commissioners, I guess, as well. So there's that. The other thing is, Cheryl didn't know this, and I didn't know it until I looked for it earlier this afternoon, but we actually did do a smoke-free housing lease enforcement policy, approved it on June 18th, 2020. Some of us were there, I actually dug it out of archives, but it never made it. It was right at the beginning of the COVID thing. It was our second meeting. We had an annual meeting that was a month late because we couldn't meet at all in the first 2 months because of COVID. So I dug that out, sent it to Cheryl this afternoon. So the other input is Cheryl's proposed policy. This applies to the lease. And it's really the same writer that we've been using right along. And it has a 1-page version of what we now have a 3 or 4-page version from Cheryl that it especially brings out this smoking cessation part of it as well as everything else. But otherwise, it's sort of a more abbreviated version of the 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing here.
Okay.
So I would just pass that along to Cheryl and say, we should, for next month, we should have a, this, the update to this. We can all give you our comments and just, fold whatever is valuable out of that policy, and then we retire that policy, when we do vote on this next month.
Okay.
So, and that's it for me. So do you have any other input you need from us?
No,
Okay,
not at this time.
all right. So I think we're done with that agenda item. And we are now on E, Executive Director's Report. Your packet has the usual standard reports, monthly management reports in there. Anything that you want to call out, Cheryl, any questions from the commissioners on E1 and 2?
No, I do not have anything that I want to bring to your attention specifically.
Okay,
Okay.
if no questions from the commissioners, I just wanted to note that those of you who go listen to the WBUR report, it started on Tuesday, slamming the CHAMP state new CHAMP waiting list system. Saying that it's been a terrible rollout, it's been very cumbersome to use. It made a lot of extra work for everybody. It basically said it's resulted in hundreds, if not thousands, of vacant units not being filled on a prompt basis. And went on and quoted various people and cite statistics. So I would just note for tonight's public meeting that our August vacancy report shows 9 units vacant out of 356, I believe, altogether. So that's approximately 3%. And
Can I just say something?
if
on
I
that?
could finish my sentence, yeah. And so we aren't one of the housing authorities that they were talking about here. But go ahead, Janice.
I've read several reports on what you're saying, Reg, and I'm thinking the rehab, that's where they're gonna put us.
Well-
Hopefully not.
Well, maybe, the Tuesday story was about that. The Wednesday story, was about, hundreds of units supposedly that are out of commission because the housing authorities, do not have money to fix them up and put them in service, and they're not suitable for habitation, today. So, it's very interesting.
That's what I was thinking, and I was hoping that, that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah,
So,
so that's the importance of what we're doing with the preservation and redevelopment initiative here.
So I just wanted to know if I can ask Nada if she wanted to report a little bit. We were at
Please do.
the Narrow Conference in the Cape.
Yep.
And Nada attended a CHAMPS workshop. And Nada, if you just wanted to give a little update on what we go through with CHAMPS.
So it's a struggle. You go in, they select the applicants for you. It's not like you could select them. You have to go by the top of the list. Now they have another agency doing the preference and the priority. So it takes us a longer period of time for us to actually be able to grab these people, get all their information, the other information that we still need, landlord questionnaires, query, bank statements, income. By the time we actually get to move them in, we're down to like a month now. So it's getting a little bit rougher. It really is. I'm hoping that once they finish this whole transition they're trying to do, it'll get a little bit easier. We'll see. But for now, I can say, Cheryl, and Cheryl knows, out of those units that Reg just mentioned, I already have 5 people lined up for those units. We're just working on the paperwork, and hopefully before your next board meeting, Cheryl will be happy to tell you guys she's down to 3 units, right?
Absolutely.
Well, it's terrific.
Yeah.
Although, realistically, they're turnover too. So
Yeah.
you might down to 3 and then there's another 2 or 3 new vacancies from turnover, but
Right.
we'll
and,
see.
and taking them off of the CHAMP list is
Yeah.
the challenge, right, Nada? Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
definitely is.
Thanks,
challenge.
Nada.
Okay,
Yeah. We
Can I
thank you.
just ask a question to that?
Yeah.
I just want to get the clarification straight that, in other words, instead of having like 6 months, 3 to 6 months to get somebody housed and getting all their information, the queries and everything. They're now downsizing you to a month to get that information to house a person.
So what happens, Janice? If I have 5 vacancies, I select 20 applicants. Because I know out of those 20 people, because they've also applied in other housing authorities, I may only get 3 out of the 20. So now I have to start the cycle again, select another 20 to try to get 2 more people. Because there are multiple housing lists. They're not just on Needham Housing Authority. The majority of the people, when they apply in Champ, they select all the towns nearby. So I may select them, but Wellesley may select them at the same time. Now they're looking at a unit with me that really doesn't look like a 1-bedroom. Then they go to Wellesley and those are much bigger. So they may turn around and say no to me and go to Wellesley.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the cycle. It just keeps on going.
Okay, so it's not the Fed, it's the way they frame the, how you submit your applications, because it goes statewide.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
We're just talking about the state side now. Yeah, the 152 units for Linden Chambers, not the federal side.
That's
Okay,
probably even more daunting.
so let me suggest we go to the next agenda item.
Great.
And you have some staffing updates you want to give to the commissioner?
I do. I have some staffing updates. First of all, I just want to take an opportunity to shout out to my phenomenal team. They do a really great job. But we have, since the budget was approved last December, we have 3 vacancies, 3 vacant positions in the budget, Assistant Executive Director, Director of Maintenance, and we had a mechanic laborer in that budget to fill those positions. So, you know, as I said, working with this phenomenal team, I've decided to promote within and not move, not classify, advertise for those positions. And so it's my goal to promote Nada to Deputy Director of Operations and Management. She will continue to work with her leasing staff and help them transition them to do more tasks with the Section 8 program. Our housing managers completed a week-long certification for Section 8. So this will be in addition to their, add to their learning curve and bring them up to be more knowledgeable with Section 8. As I said, Nada does an absolutely phenomenal job. So she and I will work more closely together on capital projects and on state and federal capital projects and other things. I'm still developing the job description, so that will come to you for review at your next board meeting.
With the
Greg?
raise,
Yes, it meets the budgeted guideline that was approved in at the board meeting in December. I've had this conversation with Rick to make sure that we're not overspending in our salary line items, and we still have wiggle room. So even with these positions to move to fill, it doesn't overrun the salary line item of the budget. Greg, I have to tell you, is absolutely phenomenal. He's very knowledgeable in the field. He's excellent to work with. He's so respectful and so kind. And it's just really great working with him. So I'm happy that he is moving into that direction of Director of Maintenance. It actually takes him out of the labor and industry line and pulls him into administrative, So he also will move into that salary line item. We hired recently a new mechanic laborer trainee. His name is Ryan. I cannot pronounce his last name. It sounds like chestnut, but there's a lot going on, a lot of vowels there. Very nice young man. And he's doing really well, working with our maintenance team. My other goal is to fill Greg's position, who's currently foreman, to fill that position with our maintenance carpenter, Eric. Eric Jenkins will move into the position of maintenance foreman. Let's see. I think you know that I hired a financial liaison person, temporary staff person to help us with our financial procedures. She's working really very well with that. As I said, we have a phenomenal staff. Everybody is eager to learn, eager to grow, and eager to do more. So more to come. It's my hope to sort of just give you a brief report at next month's meeting and towards the end of the year. Towards the end of the year, as you know, we'll be discussing our budget for 2024. And I'm told that we will have an increase that we can offer to our staff of 7%. Labor and industry is expected to go up $8. So more to come on that. Are there any questions?
Any questions from the commissioners?
I have a question. The financial person you hired, will he be working with Salim?
The financial person, her name is Tammy Kanai, and she works closely with me. We get information from Salim. We are going to sort of outline per the audit from High Rock a list of procedures. We're going to document the procedures for internal control that came out of the material weakness finding for High Rock. And so we'll just have a guideline, not only for Salim, but for the entire department in terms of purchasing and, how we're spending how we're spending money.
Okay, nice. Thank you.
But she's really very great. She worked with me at Needham Public Schools, and she's very, very, very good and very helpful.
Thank you.
And I guess I would add one more thing that goes into the staffing update category that you brought to my attention earlier this week, which is somehow our 3-year union agreement, a collective bargaining agreement, is expiring at the end of this year. I don't know how time flew quite that quickly because it felt like we were just negotiating that
3-year contract.
But it is true. And so Cheryl is going to be, with the help of Jim Pender, who's our counsel for this sort of thing, will be kicking off sometime soon, right? The negotiation.
Right. We had scheduled a meeting for next Monday, but we're going to have to reschedule that. Had an unforeseen incident happen or occur. So we're going to reschedule that meeting. But yes, Jim Pender and I have spoken, and he's willing to work with us on that new union agreement.
And just to remind everybody who Jim Pender is, if you don't remember exactly, maybe remember the name, we've used that firm for several years to not only to negotiate the agreements, but that specialized area of law. So something that, with Jonathan Driscoll's blessing, we go to a more specialized law firm on that. But also, when we were sued by our former resident director for several years in arbitration and all kinds of fun and games with that, that was the firm and Jim was the person that helped work our way out of that situation and ultimately reach a settlement agreement to make that go away. So,
Can I just add one
Yeah,
other thing
please
to the
do.
staffing? So I just want to add one small item about the staffing. We hired 2 Ross coordinators and they work, as one person, equal hours part. But one of them actually had to step down. She has some family obligations and she will no longer continue in her role as the other half of the Ross coordinator.
Who was that?
And Amanda Roseanne, yeah, so she is stepping down, and as a result, Kathy Berkeley will need to step down as well because she does not have the bandwidth to do the job full time. I am interviewing someone on Friday for that position, and I'm almost certain that the person is going to take the position. But will also be a great fit for our community and for the program. So I'm going to suggest from Caitlin that we can keep, if possible, Ann and Kathy on to consult and to help bring the new person up to speed. We have a big report that's due to HUD the end of the month. And so they will help that new person and myself get that report off the ground. But yeah, that's the staffing report. Phenomenal staff. Everybody's working well.
great. So let's move on to the our birthday party. Any further update you want to give us about that?
So real quick, this is coming along very nicely. We've signed the contract with the Needham Golf Club. We have everything in place. It's going to be a really nice event. We've sent invitations out to all our residents and town officials. We've also sent invitations out to past board members, as much as possible, past executive directors. So I think we've really covered the ground of making sure that we get the word out. We're asking people to RSVP so that we have a good list of how many people will be coming. We have different groups partnering with us on various aspects of the program. Lori is doing a great job with organizing things. There's going to be a slider table where there will be a burger, cheeseburgers, veggie burger, little sliders. There will be a veggie table and another table of food. We're not serving dinner, but we will have some nice hearty appetizers for people to have to enjoy themselves. There'll be a nice presentation by Reg and myself. It's really going to be a great event. It's coming along really nicely, and I'm excited about the day. Do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I just want to thank, in the middle of all the other balls that staff has in the air and working with the CHAMP system, somehow finding the time to plan this, celebration, this amazing milestone that we have reached.
Yeah.
That kind of, 75 years, it's 70 since we built our first housing, and thousands of families and disabled people and elderly people that we have helped.
Yeah.
And that's a
Yeah, that get to live in a
pretty
beautiful town like Needham. So to be able to celebrate
Right.
that's really
and
fun.
one of the things we've done is we've pulled all the annual reports to the town of Needham going back to 1948. We've actually got photocopies of them, and there are untold stories back then, including the first words of the first annual report in 1948, for the year of 1948, so it came out in 1949, and it says, I'm quoting it, the Needham Housing Authority was born on May 7th, 1948. That's the first sentence. So it is a birthday party, decided, and we will go from there. So we'll have some surprises and some interesting things, and still try to keep the trains running on time around here, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
sometimes a challenge. So great.
That's a good.
Number 5, the federal five-year plan is submitted?
No.
Not submitted. Okay.
But we're still on track to submit it before the end of the month. There's just some changes that have been brought to my attention, that, our consultants have, suggested I make, and I'll make those changes. And, I've, had Caitlin Johnson, our housing specialist, look at it, and she thinks it looks great. There's no concern there from her. I've gotten all of the certifications that we need to put that in place. So I'll just make those small changes and check in with Caitlin one more time and submit it. Again, we're on track before the end of the month to get this thing off. And I think I just, yeah, I'll check in with Cambridge one more time and Caitlin Johnson as well. So that's that. You also
F6, yeah,
have in your packet the draft audit report
2022.
2022 for
Right.
Needham Housing Authority. It looks pretty good. The report, because the material weakness, that one material weakness and two significant deficiencies in the HIROC report were as they were, Tim Mashante said that they needed to include it in the Needham Housing Authority audit. So they're there. And we need to just draw up a document on how we are defending those, addressing the material weaknesses. But I haven't actually spoke to Tim yet on it because I haven't read it thoroughly. But I do plan to speak with Tim, and Tammy and I also will speak with Tim, and we will have a plan of action in place to address the findings or material weaknesses for this audit and HIROC.
I did have a chance to go through it,
Mm.
not word for word, but, you know, somewhat thoroughly, and I agree with Cheryl. It's not the same, we were concerned that there might be some additional, things, issues that were opened up, but, I didn't see them here, so, Cheryl will proceed to do the final report, which will look pretty much like this one. If you recollect, we left things off a couple of months ago when we got the HIROC Homes report, that it would be a good idea. We decided to meet with the auditors directly when we got the NHA version as well. So we meet once on both versions. So we are now at that point where we can think about scheduling that meeting. I guess my question for the commissioners is, would you prefer to do that as a separate special meeting? You know, of course, it would be a public meeting posted and everything, but would you prefer to do it as part of our October agenda, which, you know, will also, as far as I know, pretty sure we'll have Representative Garrett as a guest. Any druthers or any preferences?
Well, our meetings tend to run longer than we would hope.
Yeah.
And so by adding that audit meeting into our regular schedule, might make it a pretty late evening.
So you would be in favor of having a special meeting?
I would, yeah.
I'd second that.
Did we make it the special meeting that you're going to have anyway
For the minutes, I think we could.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, could we combine that like other 2-minute meeting with this meeting and
We
call it a
can-
day?
Yeah, I don't expect it will be more than at max an hour meeting with the auditors, maybe less than that. But I think we want to invite them to call to our attention as a, you know, the fiduciary body that we are, anything, and make sure they understand we've heard them, and Cheryl, of course, has already heard it, and that we will be taking it very seriously and getting everything fixed up this year here.
Yeah.
And following the recommendations, so good. So we'll do a calendar drill on that, and we'll work with them to see what dates and times they have available, and we'll get that scheduled in the next couple of weeks here.
Thank you.
Okay, we are now at 7. The FSS 2024 application.
So just as an information item to let you know that the next year funding round for family self-sufficiency has been submitted. There's an increase in that grant for 2024. which will mean an increase in the salary for the coordinator.
Yeah.
And that's done. And I think that's it.
Okay. Let's go on to agenda item F1 or F, which is just the regular update. Apologies for getting the Cambridge Housing Authority report out to you late this afternoon. But I'll just summarize a little bit where we're at. On Linden and Chambers, the team continues to be working extremely hard. This, particularly the BHNA team, as well as the Cambridge Housing Authority team. As I've mentioned before, we came out of the conceptual design with the U-shaped buildings and got the cost estimates, and they just blew everybody out of the water. They were so horrible. So it's been a real challenge of value engineering this summer, trying to not sacrifice the number of units we're doing and our overall goals and objectives of helping people who need deeply affordable housing, but still coming up with something that there's some chance of funding, from the scarce funds that are available for this kind of project for state subsidized housing. And I think we're getting there. The next major sort of milestone for everybody to kind of make a note and put in their calendars is that we're scheduled for the October 3rd planning board meeting. That's a Tuesday. And it's a milestone where we're hoping to be finished with a schematic design, which we all remember is the next level of detail of design. And we'll also be unveiling the changes that we made to the proposed buildings and, where they're located and how they're, designed and everything else that, had results in a buildable project. There will be some new issues for the town and for the planning board to consider and the neighbors. And so the month of October will get kicked off with that. And then we will be seeing in October and November a sort of public discussion of that with, not only the planning board, but the other boards that are interested. And of course, our residents, and we'll also be having some more neighbor meetings as well. So, and the goal of all that is to get everybody sort of lined up and on board so that we can request the planning board to start working on zoning amendments and the whole process they have to go through, targeted at spring 2024 town meeting to approve the zoning relief we need to do what we want to do. The other major thing, again, that's coming up, certainly by our next meeting in October, is we'll be fairly far along the path of preparing CPA funding requests that will require the boards to vote before we submit them. There's a fair amount of CPA money that's been set aside for the town for us, and everybody knows this is coming, so it's not going to be any big surprise. But it's probably going to be as big a number as we think we can ask for reasonably, because again of the funding challenges of meeting the gap in funding that's necessary is now made more challenging by this increase in construction costs. November 1st is the deadline for the CPA funding applications to be submitted. So we'll probably most certainly have a draft of those applications that we'll be looking at the next board meeting. That's what's going on in Linden Chambers. Seabeds and Cook, I think we've already covered with BHNA. That's kicked off. So we have now two projects, major projects that we're supporting. And that will make life interesting over the next, few months or a couple of years here. We have our special counsel lined up for the development partner negotiation. We will meet her next month, I guess, because she came down with COVID. But I am going to ask tonight if the board would consider approving my recommendation and Cheryl's recommendation for a negotiating negotiation committee to work with that special counsel whose name is Teresa Santa Lucia of Klein Hornig. And it would be the same group that we had before, which would consist of myself, the chair, Eleanor as the vice chair, and also with, as a counsel herself. And Cheryl is our executive director and fearless leader who ultimately is responsible for everything. And also Jonathan Driscoll. So I make a motion that we appoint the Development Partner Negotiation Committee, made up those 4 individuals.
I'll second.
Second it from Ed. Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, I will call the roll. Reg Foster votes aye.
Oh, wait, actually before, so we'll have the negotiating committee and what sort of authority will the committee have?
Oh, I'm sorry, Eleanor, I should have asked for discussion here. So the authority is to negotiate with the to produce the best agreement we can and work, with the special counsel, but not to approve the agreement. It would be brought to the full board for approval. And of course, any irresolvable issues we may need to check with the board about as well. Is that what you're asking about, or would you recommend something different?
No, it's just seeking clarification on that
Yeah.
one.
Good point.
And
Yeah.
that is with the BH&A team you're speaking of?
No, this is with our development partner. We had our meeting in May, the regular May meeting, where we reviewed the Cambridge Housing Authority recommendations and the various different kinds of development partners. And at that meeting, we voted to explore negotiations with the Cambridge Housing Authority to be our development partner for both projects, Linden Chambers and Seabeds and Cook.
Okay.
So over the summer, besides selecting, going through the selection process that led to the appointment of Klein and Horny as our special counsel and Teresa Santa Lucia. In parallel, the Cambridge Housing Authority has been holding internal meetings to think through what their terms and conditions might be. And I've also been doing homework myself on the terms and conditions. In fact, I actually took a LITEC training session last week, just to sort of better understand the elements of a typical development partner agreement. And I've also read 2 or 3 development agreements that are samples. And actually I will be submitting my, training fee for reimbursement to Cheryl when I get around to doing it here. So
As you should.
thank you. And any other questions or comments of which I should have asked for before calling the vote?
I see no reason to make any change to the staffing or grouping of the committee.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. All right. Well, hearing that, I now will again call for the vote. Reg Foster votes aye for that. Negotiating
This
committee.
votes aye.
Ed Shiver was I.
Penny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
Great. And moving along, we're getting close. PRI budget update. That's been in the back of our mind all along. We have a draft of the budget. We are pretty good. We're not here for board review because we obviously did not pass it around, but just as an update, I think we know where the money is coming from for all of our Linden Chambers redevelopment expenses. Pretty much covered. We still have a gap that I reported on last month for the Seabeds and Cook pre-development expenses. But we're changing funding sources somewhere here. Lost it. I'm losing paper now. But we had a meeting earlier about what's called home funds with Karen Sonnenberg. It's a source of funding. And there are 3 or 4 other sources of funding that we're beginning to explore. We don't have any actual progress to report, and I can't find the piece of paper I brought with me here anyway. Here it is. No, not. So, stay tuned. I should also say, in that regard, that Cheryl and I and Rick had a meeting on our chart of accounts and making sure that we were keeping track of all the expenses for the PRI separately from all the day-to-day operating expenses, and had a very good productive meeting with our fee accountant about that, and there's going to be some adjustments made that'll make it much easier to keep track of them as we go forward, and as we fire up a second project now, as well as to be able to report on them. So I don't know if there's any further update from that meeting, Cheryl, that you have.
The fee account, the accountants that come out on a monthly basis to work with us on our budget are starting to make those adjustments to that. They understand that we are not at this present time charging redevelopment fees to our federal or state subsidy. So we're keeping an eye on all of that.
Good.
Yeah.
And we also got input from Marcom, our auditors, as well on that subject here, so. Okay, and with that, I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at the CHA monthly report or has any other questions about what's going on. If so, speak, or we will move on to our final grouping of agenda items. So that's the internal initiative status update. Cheryl, do you want to run through that?
Sure. Let's see. So our roofing project is pretty much complete. We're waiting on the architect to run through the final punch list. The contractor has submitted their last pay requisition, but we want to make sure everything is in order before it gets signed. And then I will move forward with processing the paperwork to close out that grant. I believe, I want to say that the contractor has done a great job. The roofs look fabulous. And I am looking to perhaps contract him with some spot work, if you will, that needs to be done at High Rock Estates. So the paving project is, you know the
I have
situation.
a question.
Oh, sure.
I did see, like, I want to call it a parade of like 9 people walking around. Maybe
Okay.
earlier this week, last week, was that the punch list for the roofs?
No, that might have been was that last Friday?
I think so.
Last Friday, we had our architectural team from BH+A walk the site and do their assessment of the grounds and the interior units.
Okay,
But
we'll get back to the roofs. Has a punch list been created for the roofs?
No, as I said, I'm waiting on the architect to get that report to me, and we will move on from there.
If you
Okay,
have a
great.
report, let Cheryl know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, paving project.
Paving project, I spoke a little bit about Seabest Way, Captain Robert Cook Drive, the Linden Chambers paving project. I'm keeping an eye on that in Cap Hub. EOHLC, I think I got it right, formerly DACD, does a good job of moving that project along. They have people that they are assigned to that project. And it looks like it's moving forward. Again, I don't know that it will happen this fall. But that's probably something else that will happen in the spring.
Well, for pretty sure it's not gonna, you
I haven't
can't,
seen any schematic designs, I guess.
well, and you
I
just
guess
don't
that's the
start
point.
projects because
I
it
did
gets
say that
cold,
earlier,
yeah, right,
yeah.
so.
And then 42 Captain Robert Cook Drive, that's moving along very nicely. The contractor is actually about to paint the unit. He's demoed the unit and gotten everything out of there. And Nader and I will sit down and have a powwow about cabinets and ordering cabinets for that unit. Closets have been done. We are going to talk about how we are going to replace the doors. Some of them we may need to purchase, so we'll have a talk about that, but we do need to purchase cabinets, kitchen cabinets, countertops and appliances for that unit.
Wow.
Yeah, but as I said, that young carpenter is doing a great job.
Long time.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice, and we'll be able to house a family of 8, I think, in that unit that will desperately need that space. It's a 2-bedroom. I'm sorry, it's a
bath.
4-bedroom,
4
2-bath,
bedroom.
4-bedroom, 2-bath, handicap unit. It's pretty spacious, quite nice,
And scarce in our area.
and very scarce. So that's that. Any questions on Captain Robert Cook Drive? I put the resident self-sufficiency, the Ross grant update and the FSS update. You know, this is moving along very nicely. Unfortunately, one of our, our original coordinators will have to step away, but we have another person waiting to be interviewed for this work. Family self-sufficiency, that's Elena Choi. She does a great job with helping to build this foundation. She's gotten 7 enrollees so far. The goal is to have 15 before the end of the year, and we're moving along nicely in that. We're rolling out workshops in the evenings and on the weekends to be available to people to come in and talk or sign up for the program. So that's happening really nicely. And I just wanted to piggyback on Reg's report on the preservation and redevelopment. I just want to say that I'm so impressed by BH+A and the work that they're doing. This is a phenomenal group. And we are going to have some absolutely beautiful developments when all is said and done. They are working hard. They are thoughtful, they're kind, they're considerate. They are just doing a really great job, and I'm so proud to be a part of this process. I just wanted to add that when Reg was talking.
Amen to that. And they're clever
And they're very clever.
at figuring out
Yeah,
solutions around impossible problems here.
really,
so,
really good
yeah,
team.
so.
Both Dan Chin for Linden and Chambers and Ben Wilson for Seabed's Way and Captain Robert Cook Drive. It's really very exciting. I have to really say that. You're gonna hear me say that a lot.
And with that, upbeat close, I think we're at the end of the meeting here. We have no new business. And I call everybody's attention that our next meeting is regular meeting scheduled is Thursday, the 19th. Assume everybody can make it. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I have a question. Since the
Sure.
meeting is at Linden Chambers this month, why is it at Linden Chambers next month?
Typo. Typo.
Okay.
My old eyes.
All righty, good. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second,
I so
I
moved.
just hope
from
it both makes it to the next.
Second, before anybody makes any more comments, hearing no further discussion, I will call the roll vote, call vote. Reg Foster votes aye.
Eleanor Evans votes aye.
Ed Scheidler votes aye.
Kenny Kirk votes aye.
Janice Bennett votes aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
20.
Okay.
Brad?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We can stop the recording there, I guess.
You had.
Go
I just said, I was just saying, I already said it in the meeting, I'm gonna get involved, and I think the only thing I was gonna say was, about.
Yeah, that ends it, and then pauses.
Being involved in the board, because I missed the voting.